Hey, it's the Screen Team. We do movie reviews right here on KWOC. I'm being joined by Jake with this next review. And this next movie we're going to be doing for the Screen Team is a movie that came out many, many years ago. I'd say probably around 10 to 15 at the most. The movie is called Memento. And this was the movie that kind of propelled Christopher Nolan from kind of indie director to really, really great director, and then he got the Batman jobs and stuff like that. So this is a masterpiece, a work of art from Christopher Nolan. I've seen this movie twice, but it's been like 10 years since I've seen it. So full disclosure, man, my recollection of a lot of the stuff in the movie might be a little bit rusty. So I got Jake here to help me with it. He recently saw it for the first time, and I'm really interested to see what he thought of the movie. So Memento, before we get into the plot, before we get into anything else, did you like the movie?
I did like the movie. I enjoyed it thoroughly.
Yeah.
It took me a couple nights to get through it. I kind of had to break it up into sections, and I finally just powered through and finished it because I had an issue staying awake because I tried to watch it late at night.
Right.
But that's not to say it's a bad movie.
No, it's tough. When you got kids, you got you got priorities, right?
But this movie definitely it's a little bit taxing to watch because the way that the story is told. And
did it hurt your head when you got finished?
No, I was kind of expecting the ending. I really was.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of set up from the beginning that nothing's going to be how it seems because your main character suffers from short-term memory loss.
Mm-hmm.
So he can't really remember anything for more than a few minutes. So he writes himself notes. He has Polaroids of people's faces with their names, with a note about them,
right,
and things like that to kind of help him along his path. He's seeking revenge for his wife that was abused or was assaulted and murdered.
Yeah.
So, and it's got some slightly graphic things in this movie, but so it's definitely not for the kids.
Right.
But it's a great story, and it's kind of told with two timelines: one that's moving in chronological order and one that's moving in reverse chronological order. Now, you're not going to be watching people walk backwards or talk backwards or things like that, but it'll take a section of the movie that happens at the end of the storyline, and it plays that first, and then you'll see how that ties in when it backs up even further as you go on. And then it's got these black and white cuts of a phone conversation that's happening kind of alongside this, and they meet up at a certain point.
Are you with us so far?
So it's kind of two storylines, one told in reverse order, one told in forwards order, and they meet up at the crucial point in the story, which is really where the story starts and ends at the same time somehow. So it's
But even with all that craziness, I still enjoy this movie a lot.
It is really good.
When this movie came out, I was like, dude, Nolan, he's awesome. He's going to win Best Director. This movie's going to win Best Picture. Nothing. It got nothing. Got pushed aside, and Christopher Nolan pretty much gets that with every movie he does. Man, I'm a huge Christopher Nolan fan, so whatever he does, I'm in. But this was definitely the movie that kind of pushed him over the indie hump there and got him some bigger jobs. What did you think about Guy Pearce? He is our star. He is the main character in this film. He's the guy who's got the short-term memory loss. What did you think about his performance?
I think he did really good. He put together a really solid performance, and he's really kind of the main character that kind of drives the story. Most of the movie is focused on him. It's close-ups of him telling his story and things like that. And there's other characters that come in and interact, and they kind of manipulate him a little bit because of his condition.
Yeah.
So and that's blatant in one case, and blatant I guess for a couple of different characters. One of them's kind of doing it for his own good, and one of them just kind of does it for their own good. So.
Yeah.
So you'll get to see that, and you'll see how that's played on. Actually, Jonathan Nolan, the Christopher Nolan's brother that originally wrote the short story that became the screenplay for this. So it's a really good story. It's kind of all in the Nolan family, so that's pretty cool. But Guy Pearce, he really sold this movie. It's what made it work for me. I liked his character's attitude, and I mean, he was just almost a little bit lighthearted about his condition, you know.
Yeah. One of the guys you alluded to was the guy you don't know whether he's trying to help Guy Pearce's character out or if he's, trying to be a little sleazy to him. I can never pronounce his last name, but Joe Pantoliano.
That's
close enough.
Pantoliano or something like that.
Yeah.
So.
If you saw Goonies, he's one of the bad guys in Goonies. He's the guy who's got like the hairpiece or whatever.
Yeah.
But I thought he did a great job in the movie.
I think he did really well too because you're never quite sure about him, but he, you'll figure out his character in the long run. You know, it's like he's a kind of a mix. Like there's bad qualities and good qualities about him. He's trying to help, but he's also, you know, misleading at the same time. So he's a very dynamic character that you can't figure out, and he's in it essentially from the beginning. Actually, the beginning is kind of tragic for his character, but
there you go.
So you'll be like, what did he do?
What is going on?
So like this guy's, you know, he's kind of got a jerk face too, so it kind of really helps with the character. He's got one of those, you know, you can't quite figure out what he's like. You know, he's just got that look about him.
Carrie-Anne Moss is also in this film.
Yes.
If you're a fan of The Matrix and the Matrix movies, she was one of the stars in that film, and she did a supporting role in this film. What did you think about her?
Good job. Not one of my favorite actresses, really.
Yeah.
You know, wasn't a big fan of her in the Matrix movies. I mean, the first one was okay, but I don't know. I just always feel like she overdoes subtle, and it just turns into flat.
No, I mean, I'd never really thought of it that way, but I think you might be right on that.
And then when she overdoes subtle, so when she actually does a good reaction, which would probably be by any other means good, but it's overly dynamic, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to describe her. I'm not a big fan of her as an actress, but you know, it's not to say she's a bad actress, but
you're just not.
I'm just not a huge fan.
All right, so I'm kind of curious. We've been hinting at this all throughout the review that this movie is kind of a tough watch, could be confusing in parts to folks. Who would you recommend this film to? I mean, this movie's probably not something for your general movie-going audience. So who would you recommend it to?
Film students, you know, people that just dig a little bit deeper into movies and how they're just people who really like different ways of storytelling.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it for that reason. If you like movies like, I'm trying to think of a better example than this, but like the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
You know, if you like kind of different ways of storytelling that kind of crosses timelines and just kind of experiment on how to tell a story, you'll definitely like this movie. It's different. It's a little bit taxing of a watch, but it's not too bad. You know, I really enjoy it. You'll enjoy the movie I really wished I could have sat down and watched it all the way through, and it's really not that long of a movie, so it's not that bad.
Right.
So, also had one of my favorite kind of B-list actors in it, Mark Boone Jr., who plays Bobby on Sons of Anarchy.
That's right, he is in that. I forgot.
So he also was in Batman Begins.
You're
another
right.
Nolan movie.
Yeah.
So
but wasn't he like the motel manager or something like that?
Something like that. Yeah. He's another character that takes advantage of Guy Pearce's character of Leonard. So I don't know. I really liked the movie. I really enjoyed it, and like I said, it can be a little taxing to watch, but not that bad really. There's some great funny moments that shouldn't be funny because the darkness of the story, but it's got some really good humor to it.
There you go. That's Jake. That's his review of the movie Memento. It's one of those you can find wherever you find movies. Sometimes it's on the streaming services like Netflix and Amazon and stuff like that. So it's called Memento, and it's directed by Christopher Nolan. Coming up next, we're going to review one of the highly praised movies of 2017 called The Big Sick. We'll review that next right here on The Screen Team.